All right.
Hi.
So this is take 2 of remarkable resilience, creating remarkable resilience. And this is take 2 because the Facebook Live version was not happening. And we were having fun and we were talking and it wasn't playing anywhere. So really quickly, I'm Coach Judy Prokopiak Coaching. And I'm just creating this workshop I called it Recipe for Creating Your Remarkable Resilience, because a recipe, like when you're creating a recipe, you have ingredients and you have some cooking skills and you have some tools and you have all this stuff. And, but it's also, you make it your own, right? Like, I don't like mushrooms.
Did you see it?
Yes, I did.
I'm sorry.
Nope, it's okay. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
You have a visitor. We have somebody who wants to know about this.
The hawk has a nest. Okay.
That's funny. So, but I don't like mushrooms, and even if they're good for you, I still don't like them. So I'm not going to cook that recipe with mushrooms, right? I don't eat gluten and dairy, so I'm not going to make the recipe with that in it. And it's the same thing with resilience, I've kind of discovered, right? We're going to give you a recipe, and you have all of these options, or like a toolbox, right? I was just trying to use a recipe as a different way to kind of create it, or a menu, right? So we're going to give you, if your inbox is like mine, you're getting 7 tips for stress relief, and 12 ways to go through COVID, and 9 ways to, self-care. And it's like overwhelmed, you don't even know what to do. And we're listening to all that, and we're like, we can't implement half of it. And then the ones that we do, we're like, I don't really feel any better. This is not helping me, right? And so it's really about just taking all of those things, kind of putting it in your little recipe box and deciding, hey, let me pull out this. For me, swimming calms me down. Right. It's like a form of meditation for me. Somebody else, they might be freaked. They don't know how to swim very well. So it's stressful, right? So everybody has their own little recipe box. And then within the recipe, there are also other ingredients that you can. So mindfulness is in the recipe box, right. But the way that you do mindfulness, the way that I do mindfulness, the way that Ronnetta does it, or somebody else, right? Then that's you have your own little recipe box, right? Think about your mom's recipe box with all the handwritten and the things, and wait, I don't do that, I do this, and right? And it's so that was sort of my idea for this thing that I created while I was in the pool. Anyway, that's what we're doing here. And we got off to a little wonky start, but we are showing you what resilience looks like. Resilience is calm. Resilience is figuring, because guess what? You cannot create and pivot and be resourceful when you are stressed out and freaked out and frustrated and irritated. You can't come up with good ideas and problem solve, and your brain is on fire, your nervous system is on fire. None of that is happening. Right. So we're just here to show you that we're not perfect. We got challenges, we got stuff, but we also know some things. We've learned some things along the way about how to regulate ourselves and regulate our nervous system and pivot and move and figure something out. And we could have just quit and said, we'll do it another time. But we're like, hey, we're here. We're already prepared. We're just going to move forward. And it's going to look different than the result we thought we were going to have.
Right.
But you know what? We'll post it on YouTube, and we'll post it wherever, and whoever needs to see it will see it. That's how I feel.
I love it.
Right. So Deb Cunningham, tell a little quick, just a little, and then a recap. And you did such a beautiful job before, but.
Well, it won't sound the same, but.
You know what? So it's going to be better. It's going to be better.
I hope so.
It's gonna be better.
A little bit about myself. I've sort of led a dual life. I've had a yoga and meditation practice for a couple of decades and became an instructor. At the same time, I was living in corporate sales, medical sales, with enormous organizations, and never the two shall meet until pretty recently. And it's created an opportunity for me to, spread sort of my expertise as it relates to bringing mindfulness into the workplace. I created a company called The Mindfulness Effect, and We do corporate consultation to create mindfulness within organizations and personal one-on-one coaching with executives who lived the life I lived for 20 years without the benefit of having a tool set or even an acknowledgement to know what is mindfulness and why is it important. It's personally saved me. You know, we've all had our challenges. I've found that in the most challenging of times, this was what kept me grounded. And if you think of a captain on a ship, if the captain's freaking out, the whole ship is freaking out. So I've created this little mini environment with my family that sort of created a calm respite in the times of complete chaos. I lost my mom a year ago. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in April of 2019. And it was a brief illness. It was 2 months. And I was sort of steering the ship with my stepdad, my brother, all of the relatives, her sister, my family, my 3 kids and husband, and had to fly out and take care of her in hospice for the 2 months that she stayed with us. And had I not had this ability to be the captain of that ship on what was very tumultuous waters, but I had this calm presence within me that allowed her to pass in that state. And that's what really sealed it for me. Like, this is very powerful in the midst of complete and utter, you know, devastation, chaos, and it's brought me to here. You know, I feel like what I learned in this practice that I fell in love with was how to navigate those waters, and prepared me for what we're dealing with now, and will continue to prepare me for what other challenges arise. And I'll kind of shift gears to this current crisis, and we're being bombarded. You know, like you said, there's so much information out there about how to handle it. We almost need a curator to create the perfect menu for us. You know, I wish there was like a HelloFresh box that would show up on my doorstep with, here's how you, catered to you, Deb Cunningham, can handle this. So I love that you're doing this. We're going to find ways that work for all of us. You mentioned swimming. I'm going to talk a little bit about the type of mindfulness and meditation that I do. And I invite everybody to try a little bit of everything, just like you would at a restaurant. Maybe try all the dishes and find the one that you like the most. And I'll talk a little bit about what mindfulness is. It's being okay in the present moment without judgment, without having any thoughts, whether you love it or hate it. And you're literally, whether you're washing the dishes or sitting at your desk at work or dealing with kids, whatever it is, you're paying attention to the physical sensations in the body and directing the mind to focus on the moment at hand. We talked about the monkeys that might be in my backyard, and earlier it was a great segue.
Yeah. The monkeys in here.
Monkeys in the mind. In yoga, we call that chitta vritti, the monkey mind. And you imagine the monkeys swing from branch to branch, and that's what's happening in our brain all the time. And there's there's a fallacy that in order to meditate, you need to be in lotus position on the top of a mountain and stop your thoughts. And when I talk to people about meditation, oh, my mind can't do that. And that's not what we're doing. We're training the mind to sort of let all the periphery fall away and focus on one object. The brain wants to do something. It needs a job. So we give it a job. And in the guided meditation that I use, it provides the ability to drop into a really deep brainwave state, and it allows body to restore in that deep delta brainwave state. And that's just the Yoga Nidra meditation that I've chosen that I like in my recipe box that allows me to quiet the mind. When we do practice that on a regular basis, we actually see changes in the brain. We see the gray matter grow. There's been studies done with fMRIs that show practice meditators have more gray matter in the brain, and it allows for better decision making, better focus, better clarity, the ability to regulate. The hawk is just doing laps. It's so cool. yeah, speaking of focus, but you know, it provides, one of my favorite benefits of adding meditation into your daily life is improved sleep. And I don't know about you guys, particularly now, insomnia is such a crippling problem to have. 85% of our doctor's visits before COVID were due to stress. You know, the anti-anxiety and anti-depression medications, which I'm sure we can talk about in a moment, are one of the top prescribed pharmaceutical products in our company. I mean, in our country.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to work for a company that sold them. So,
right.
you know,
but like what you're saying exactly. I mean, as a nurse for 25 years, like the majority of the people that I ever saw were their health challenges were mostly related to their stress.
right.
You know, whether it was that, you know, their own internal dialogue of stress, right? Creating their own stressful thoughts, right? Because I mean, there is no stress in the world. There are just people having stressful thoughts. I mean,
exactly.
Right. There are circumstances that happen, but we're giving it meaning. We're having stressful thoughts about these things. But but people with diabetes and all of these other things, you know, why are they not taking care of themselves, or how are they not able to manage to navigate the stress in their life, right? The stressors that come. Right? Like today, when we had all of this chaos going on, we're like, well, okay, I can freak out and get mad and throw the computer on the floor, or, you know,
bounce back.
I can take some breaths and say, well, what could I do where I am with what I have?
Right. So, and I love that you said that. You know, when we think about a trigger, and whoever's watching, or even the three of us here, think about something that triggered you in maybe the past week, and you have that immediate reaction, you get that one. That's a freebie. You get that free reaction. But what happens when you are in your car driving home and thinking, God, I could have said this? So you're reliving that trigger, regardless of how subtle it is or how it's a big deal. You're reliving it. The body chemistry is creating that same recipe, really.
Right. Yeah. The recipe, the cocktail, the recipe.
Yeah.
Now we're in the cocktail.
Dumping the cortisol into
the.
Right. Blood pressure goes up, heart rate goes up, cortisol dumps into the system, your body goes into fight or flight, just thinking about it.
Yeah, you're rewiring, you're reinforcing that rewiring that pattern there. Yeah, even if it's just something somebody said. That's one of my, right, Ronnetta, you probably get this, but when like people, I was this way, just ruminate over the thing that somebody said or something did, and I was just like, spending so much mental energy on, and you know, it was physically. So
we have a few step approach in Yoga Nidra, the training that I went through, and really we won't have time to go through a guided meditation this morning, but I encourage you, if you're interested in this, to look up I Am Yoga Nidra. Tons of, you know, this on YouTube, or lots of apps. Insight Meditation, is that one of them that I like, that you can listen to. But what the 3 steps that we say is, okay, you've got this trigger, you're seeing something on the news, you feel triggered by that. The first step is awareness, you know, just becoming aware that you're starting to have that reaction, and take a deep breath, step back from now it's a bee, being triggered by a bee. So you become aware that, or my hawk, I am aware that there's a hawk in my yard. I'm gonna take a step back and just see that hawk for what it is. It's not part of me. And then I'm gonna take a deep breath in. Everyone do that right now. Inhale fully through the nose. And open mouth, exhale. And so even just one of those deep, full breaths, normally I'd guide you through a few of those, can just trigger the nervous system to calm down, moving from fight or flight to a little bit more relaxed state, opening up the prefrontal cortex where I can make calm, rational decisions. And that's my little, the bee is right here.
Well,
so
you know,
that's
what I love is I have a phrase that I use, and like, you're bigger than your trigger. And
I love that. Yeah.
right, because you're going to be triggered by things. We have past, we have traumas, we have things, and even if we've healed it, sometimes you can still get that trigger, or you're shocked or surprised or something. And you have when you work through some stuff, you're not as triggered, or the trigger comes and it's not going to trigger you for 5 days. Might only be
Right.
like 5 seconds or 5 minutes. But just kind of resting in that thought, like, I'm bigger than my trigger, I can handle it. And yeah, the breathing, since you do yoga instruction, right? But that polyvagal, experience of calming your nervous system down with the breathing. And that's probably why yoga is such a powerful tool for helping people feel calm and relaxed and connected to themselves.
Right. And dropping into the body. I mentioned earlier, the physical sensation can get that monkey mind focused on something. That's what we're doing when we're breathing. Another technique is a simple body scan, starting at the crown of the head and then feeling as you move down the body, anywhere that you're holding tension. I'll give you an example. I was getting a massage way back when we could do that. And I love a massage, but I noticed that my hands were clenched. And then my jaw was kind of clenched. So we all do that. You have tension that you're holding in the body and you don't even know it. So when you do this body scan, you can find the jaw relax, the shoulders relax, the hands relax. If you hold tension in your belly, you feel the tension release, the hips, the low back, and then just walking all the way down from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet and noticing anywhere that you're holding on to tension. And I do that before I go into a meeting, before I go into a yoga class. I mean, I just kind of find that moment where I need to take a couple breaths, ground myself, and do that body scan to make sure that I'm not holding on to anything. And I'll tell you a little trick. I was a horrendous migraine sufferer for decades. I was on prophylactic medication for years. I would end up in the hospital vomiting, clearly very stress related. This was shortly after the birth of my third child. And that's right about when I found yoga and meditation. And I found that, at night I would sleep with my jaw grip and wake up in the morning with this pounding headache. So my ability to constantly be aware of what's happening in my body and dropping into that has almost eliminated my headaches. I can honestly say I might have one a year that they no longer send me to the hospital, because now I can use those breathing techniques and deep, full inhalations and exhalations that allow me to come out of that stress situation. And I'm doing them now more than ever with this chaos that we're dealing with. And that's what's working for me, and that's what's working for the clients that I work with.
Yeah, really. I love how you talk about going, dropping into your body, because for me and a lot of the people that I work with, a lot of leaders, high achieving women, overachieving, like all those people. But and for me, I was like, like a walking head. Like, nope, this was not connected to this. It was like my head was not connected to my body. Like, I was just like, no, because I didn't know how to process all my feelings. I didn't know how to process all the trauma. I didn't know how to. I had, even though I felt like I'd done a lot of work, I still didn't know how to do that for a long time. And then so when I would, start to feel into my body, like that did not feel good. Like, I didn't know what to do with all that emotion, right? Which is like so funny when I learned, like, emotion is just energy in motion.
Right.
It's just trying to move through you, right? It's just some kind of negative or positive or whatever, some kind of energy trying to move. And that an emotion only really lasts like 90 seconds. But like you said before, we keep reliving, we keep telling ourselves the same story, the same thought over and over and over. And we keep feeling the feeling over. So we feel like we're angry all day.
Yeah.
But we keep having the same thoughts.
Yeah. We're feeding it.
But I love that. That was, it's still a work in progress, but I've come really, really far, and just practicing the breathing, getting in my body, and then just, like you say, noticing, allowing my thoughts to be there, allowing my emotions to be there, allowing to just let whatever's coming up come up, and not judging it, right?
Right.
I think that's why so many women especially don't do any like, I can't meditate, because then they're with their thoughts, which are like crazy, and then they're like judging their thoughts, and it's like all of that.
You know, so I'm glad you said that, because until I did this Yoga Nidra certification a year ago, I heard that all the time from yoga students is, I can't stop my thoughts. And we talked about that earlier, but I watched a talk that, you know, Buddhist monks, practiced lifelong meditators, believe that it's a successful meditation if they can go 7 seconds without thought. So if you allow yourself, you know, that acknowledgement, that belief that, okay, even if I'm listening to a guided meditation, my mind might wander a little bit, and that's fine. And we're sort of like, it's that wild horse analogy. We're training that wild horse to, it's going to run all over the prairie. And then the more you train it, the more it's going to like slowly come closer to the stable. And then you've got yourself a trained mind. But it's not, I'm not done. It's not like, okay, I finished meditation, check that box. You know, it's a constant practice, just like working out or exercising. You never win at it. It becomes a part of who you are. It becomes a part of your lifestyle. It's not something you do, it's something you are. And you talked about energy and movement, which is what we're doing in yoga. And I'll segue to Ronnetta, because she is opening a new yoga studio here in Yulee in North Florida, Yoga Den Crossroads. But Ronnetta is a clinical psychologist and has an amazing set of tools to approach mindfulness and yoga and all of these types of techniques to handle stress from a psychological perspective. So Ronnetta, I'll just ask, what are your thoughts as it relates to how does yoga help cope with stress, and why is it a good tool for resilience?
Yoga is an amazing tool for resilience, and the very nature of yoga, you know, is basically what we've already been talking about, which is calming the fluctuations of the mind and enhancing this mind-body connection. And as you were kind of mentioning before, Deb, there's so much research that's being done now on the benefits of yoga, not just the physical benefits, but also the mental and the psychological benefits. You know, there's the neurobiology of yoga. It decreases the volume and the part of the amygdala that plays a role in expression of fear and processing of fear-inducing stimuli. It actually boosts those feel-good neurotransmitters in our brain, like serotonin and dopamine, and helps modulate GABA, so we can actually calm that anxiety, improve our depression or reduce our depression, and reduce our likelihood of panicking. It promotes, you know, feelings of relaxation and contentedness, and also helps us feel like we've achieved some sort of reward. So just in general, we just feel better. And again, I'm kind of capitalizing on all the things that you've already said, just because it bears repeating. And that's actually a good point, because in yoga, we talk about samskaras, right? Which are grooves in our consciousness. And we got those grooves through practice and repetition. Sometimes they're healthy, sometimes they're not so healthy. So a key is to pay attention to the grooves or the samskaras that are not so healthy and develop practice and routine to try and break out of those negative patterns. And yoga is a great way to do that. It helps promote body awareness, helps relieve stress, reduces muscle strain and inflammation. It can actually sharpen our attention and focus and concentration, and it calms and centers the nervous system. And Judy, you were talking about trauma, and when we're talking about the nervous system, you know, the autonomic nervous system, which is the part of our nervous system that controls things that we don't typically think about, like digestion and respiration and things like that. And that's the area where trauma tends to be stored in the body. And yoga can actually help calm that process down. And we've been talking a lot about triggers. You know, we get triggered by a variety of different things throughout the day, throughout the week, and society tells us how we're supposed to deal with those triggers, but it's really about your personal practice and finding what is really going to be most helpful to you. For me, it might be yoga, it might be cycling. For Judy, it's, you know, it's swimming. Deb, for you, it's meditation, and meditation is great for a lot of people, but it's really about personalizing what you need to get the most benefit.
The recipe box.
Say that again?
In the recipe box.
In the recipe box, exactly. So there's so many great benefits. You know, I could go on and on. It helps decrease symptoms of PTSD. Again, talking about the triggers, you know, when we feel triggered by something, that sympathetic nervous system goes into effect. You know, that's the part of our nervous system that sympathizes with what we're going through in the moment. And we really need to work to bring in the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms down that fight, flight, or freeze response, right? Mm-hmm. And when we feel triggered by something, we're reacting from a very deep part of our brain, the limbic system and the amygdala, which is the structure in our brain that's responsible for emotion regulation. And when we get triggered, again, like Deb was saying, all of our faculties kind of go out the window. If you can think about it, like if your brain is sort of, this is sort of like, we call it the hand model of the brain, right? So this is your brain stem. Your thumb in here is your amygdala. That's the deep part of your brain. And this part of your brain is your cortex. And then of course, here's your frontal cortex. This is the back of your brain. So you get triggered by something and you flip your lid. All of those executive functioning faculties just go out the window. Your ability for planning, reasoning, judgment, sound judgment, organizing, structure, language sometimes just kind of goes away, and you're left with this idea of, holy crap, I don't know what's happening. What do I do? And there's a very simple technique that you can employ to help bring yourself back online. And I like to call it, if you can name it, you can tame it. Mm-hmm. So if you can just apply language to that process, or even to your reaction, you can start bringing down that cortex and help bring yourself back online. So, crap, I'm feeling anxious, or I feel like I'm, getting triggered by something, or I don't really know what happened. If you can just start talking to yourself and employing the techniques that we were talking about, like deep breathing and doing a body scan, all those things will help bring yourself back online. I know I'm kind of rattling things off, trying to get things out of my head so I can calm down my own anxiety, but other benefits of yoga: helps improve your cardiovascular health, it helps lower your blood pressure, can improve your cholesterol, can lower your blood sugar, helps with your body image, helps us be aware of our nutrition. Just a little bit of a personal aside, when I also came to yoga / meditation during a very stressful time in my life. I was a member of a gym, and I'd only taken one yoga class before, and I thought, this is not really what I expected yoga to be like. It was very fast-paced. It was probably more of a power-oriented yoga, and my impression of yoga was that it was supposed to help me calm those fluctuations of my mind, right? It was supposed to help relax me, and I came away from that class feeling sore and like, what just happened? Was that Zumba, or what was that? I don't even know what that was. So just by chance, I took a yoga class at the gym where I was a member, and it really matched what I thought yoga was. There's my husband. It really matched what I thought yoga was and what should be, and how I thought it could help me. And I found an instructor who was an incredibly beautiful person, who was very genuine, and she really helped me embrace this yoga lifestyle, if you will. The community was just so amazing, so inviting, supportive, just a beautiful yoga community. So I fell in love right away. And yoga has really helped me over the last couple of years maintain this sense of balance. And it's just been a fabulous experience. And, you know, with that, in that experience, I decided to become a yoga teacher, which is something I never thought I would do. And then now, as Deb mentioned, my husband Ari and I are opening the newest location of Yoga Den in Yulee. So it's just, at least for me, a testament of what an incredible impact yoga has had on me. And since I've opened myself up to embracing it, I mean, I get chills just thinking about it. Just the connections that I've made and all of the information that I've learned and how it just sort of is aligned with my values as a person. You know, Yoga Den has been around for like almost 20 years. And one of the most beautiful things about the Yoga Den philosophy is that they promote no judgment. And that's how I am as a person, and definitely as a psychologist. And one of the things that I think helps me be most successful in my practice is that I don't judge other people. I accept you for who you are. Come, talk to me. Let's figure out what's going to work best for you. You're the expert on you. I may have some expert ideas, and we can fuse the two of those things together to help you live a more rewarding and enjoyable life. Again, yeah, there's just so many benefits to yoga. I know I was kind of like waxing poetic about that, but
no, but you know, it's just shows how, you know, the powerful impact that it's had on your life. And my daughter has a very similar story. She was like in grad school, A-type personality, doing the CrossFit and the spin class and the things, and she kept having to go to these classes that was like spin yoga, CrossFit yoga. It was like she had, and the instructor was like, no, you have to do the yoga part. And she would literally lay there like an anxiety ball and be like, I hate this. I'm not, I have to go write my paper. I have to like wait. And then, you know, slowly she started like feeling better. And anyway, she's a yoga instructor, yoga for PTSD certified, yoga for 12-step, yoga for veterans, like yoga for all, like you, yoga for all the people.
yeah.
You know, and it has really, she still loves to do like lift heavy things and CrossFit. Like she still loves that she feels empowered with that, but she also gets the calming, you know, gets the piece of yoga that fits for her, you know, so.
Which is wonderful. And that kind of makes me think about a concept that Deb and I were talking about in the last couple of days, and what we've really been seeing a lot of in our world right now, which is this sort of herd mentality. And, you know, this herd mentality has been around since the beginning of time. And we as humans, earlier on, it was a very adaptive experience. You know, it helped promote human survival. And at this point in the game or in society, it's not so much of a useful experience. You know,
Right.
Groups tend not to really make good decisions. So, and the reason that triggered that thought is that people will tell you, hey, this works for me. Hey, go swimming, or hey, go for a bike ride, or hey, just sit around and, you know, stuff your face with food that may not be healthy, or go out and have a drink. You know,
Happy hour.
right, happy hour, have a quarantini. You know, like we try to normalize these things at a time like this, and we sort of follow the herd because we as individuals don't know what to do, and we're looking around trying to struggle to find some sort of foothold. And we see people raiding the grocery stores or convenience stores for toilet paper or meat. And we think, well, that doesn't really make sense. I don't know why we're doing this, but everybody else is doing it. So there should be some merit to that.
I guess I better go get some toilet paper or I'm going to be in trouble.
Right? I'm going to be SOL, no pun intended. And so we do these things sort of on autopilot just because we don't really know any better.
Right.
But, you know, there are ways to break out of that. Again, like Deb mentioned, meditating is a great way to center yourself and find that connection. Yoga is a great way to reestablish that mind-body connection and really promote your own individualized thinking and free thinking and figuring out, you know, what's best for you and finding the most accurate information to help inform your life.
Right. Yeah.
And you
That's
mentioned real
beautiful.
quick your initial yoga experience. And I would encourage, if that is something that people are interested in doing, find one that fits. It's like finding anything else. You know, there's
Right.
power yoga can be very empowering. That's kind of where my jam was for years and years, until physically it just wasn't fitting with me. As I got older, my needs changed. My receptivity to certain types. I still love a good power class, but it's sort of like going to the counter at your favorite ice cream store. You have so many flavors, and maybe one day this flavor is going to work for you, and tomorrow I think I want, coffee ice cream or whatever. So try these things on. And like, since Judy's creating this fantastic opportunity for you to hear about different modalities, I would encourage everybody to dive into some of these. And if you're terrified to walk into a yoga class, I promise you, that's within yourself. It's a stigma, and
your
that
judgment,
just doesn't,
your perception, your
right,
expectation, all of that. So yeah.
Right. And it goes away. You're in there, you find you're accepted, and you've got to sort of find that little bit of vulnerability with any one of these modalities.
Yeah.
Trust. Just
awesome. So this was so valuable and so full of lots of wisdom, and just the intuitive pieces that you brought to the table. And just to remind people how we have Claire on here too. I can second that. Yeah, we have Claire on here, and I think she's a new yoga instructor as well. Working with families and kids, I believe. So we're glad she joined us today. But yeah, how, just a reminder of how all, whatever you find to do in your life that nurtures you, comforts you, gives you peace, helps you move forward, helps you feel calm, helps you manage your life, start there. Because I was like you, started with kind of power yoga and then didn't really love that. And I like the concept of yoga, but for me, like, I'm more of like a walking meditation, and like my daughter says, like, swimming is my yoga. I'm just in like a zone. Like, for me, it's like more, unless I'm really working out, but then I can just be like in this like meditative place. So, all right. So real quick, so we can move on to Anne, who's going to come next and talk about strength and resilience and how that's all plays into the role. So, so Deb, do you not have a Yoga Nidra video that they can find you at? Or
I do.
Okay.
I have, my website is themindfulnesseffect.com. I haven't uploaded that YouTube video on there, but I do have a YouTube channel, Deb Cunningham Yoga. There's a couple of guided meditations on there and a couple of yoga classes under Deb Cunningham Yoga. Turns out I had a YouTube channel, didn't know. So I'm becoming a techno whiz. So yeah, you can find those there. And I'm trying to think if there was anywhere else. Always find me on Facebook, Deb Cunningham. And I've got, I did a lot of Facebook Lives in the past 8 weeks. So, and stay tuned. There'll be a lot more opportunity to enjoy these, and I'll keep putting content out there.
Yeah, and I love really your take on mindfulness. It's very much like my awareness. But just to remind people that they have more control. Like, we have more control. We got to control the controllables, which is our minds, what we think, what we do, what time we go to bed, what time we have a lot more control over our life than we think right now.
Right.
And control the controllables.
And energy follows attention, right? So if you're putting your energy, you're feeding the wolf, then that's where you're gonna dive into that hole and just sink into a spiral of anxiety and whatever else you're dealing with. So everything we've talked about is shifting that energy, that attention towards a different type, more restorative type of energy that can sustain us.
Awesome. So Ronnetta, thank you so much for being brave and courageous. And I know that you were like, I don't know about this whole coming on the world on video and whatever, but right, we have to challenge our own triggers.
Even psychologists are not immune to anxiety, believe me.
Exactly, right? I'm like, I'm a coach. I got my own coach for a reason because I got stuff. But anyway, thank you for sharing all of that wisdom. And I'm looking forward to your yoga den because you're like 2 minutes from me. So that's exciting.
Oh, that
Yeah.
would be awesome. You should come see us. We
I
offer a
will.
variety of different classes, and I'm sure we could find one that would fit you.
I'm sure. I want the old lady yoga. Just lay there and
We got you.
Actually,
Judy.
Actually, my son worked at the YMCA years ago when he was in high school and college, and they had like a water yoga. It was just like the lady was standing there, be a tree in the water, you know, whatever. I was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to do that. But anyway, so how?
Quick plug, we're gonna have on our schedule a Yoga Nidra class, which
Okay.
will meet Friday evenings, and Deb has talked a lot about the benefits of Yoga Nidra. And so if you want the yoga where you just lay there and you meditate, we got you. And just my personal experience of Nidra has been incredible. I've done several sessions with Deb, and I have been craving it, and now I'm doing my own training in Yoga Nidra. So it's just amazing. So I definitely encourage anybody to try that.
Hi, Claire.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Yoga Den, you can find you on Instagram and Facebook. Yoga Den Crossroads.
Yep, Yoga Den Crossroads. We're at the intersection of State Road 200 and US 17 at the Crossroads. So you can find us there. We're right next to Willie Jules. Definitely Facebook or Instagram for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you so much, Judy.
You're welcome to hang out and hang on. So I have a quick question for everybody. Instead of having like a 3 or 4 hour video, would you guys like, what if we just stopped it and then restarted? I think
Yeah, that would be good. Then we can share it.
Yeah. And that
I like
way then you can have your section. So I can crop this a little bit, but that way I feel like we can you could have the whole thing on your YouTube or wherever, but you could also have like just the chunks, because I have a feeling that I just want to try to, that's what I was going to do with the other thing. And it was just not cooperating today.
It'll just be like modular.
Yeah. Right. So we're just going to try to keep it little chunks. So that's what we'll all get off, and then we'll just the same link, we'll get back on. And I'll record again. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Whoever wants to participate, great. Whoever wants to move on with their day, awesome. You can check it later.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Bye.
Bye.